level.
Madison, you don't have any problem with the fact that ICE, with all of the additional, well, I need a moment to speak. With you filibustering, it's difficult for me to make a point.
There's been a 1,000%
I need to understand how it's okay for American citizens, Americans, if they are undocumented, do you walk around with your
38 members of the gang were arrested. I understand that everybody on the show loves to talk about this.
I think that you're making excuses for an administration that's raining terror on ordinary American citizens.
Federal law. Yeah, if you let me finish, I'll get there. Which is against federal law. We cannot have these cities protecting against federal law, and on top of it, stopping and prohibiting federal law enforcement from doing their job.
People or gangs of Chicago-born natives. And that should be priority.
Can we do that without putting American children in zip ties?
The problem is, as I said earlier, all of these problems could have been done peacefully if there was cooperation.
If you cross the border illegally, you are a criminal in this country.
But Madison, I'm talking about their characterization.
The black people in Chicago are thrilled that we're getting the illegal aliens out of their communities who are stealing their housing, jobs, and resources. The illegal aliens who are here are taking jobs away from blacks. They're taking jobs away from whites.
Hello, everybody. Guys, we got Big Boy Burgers and the Temu Kardashian. Let's get into this segment and we'll talk about it.
Tonight, Chicago fights back, and the city and state of Illinois are suing the Trump administration over its attempts to deploy the National Guard there. That's after a federal judge blocked that same move in Portland. Now, Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, says that he is taking an extra step to protect his city from what he calls the administration's war on Chicago.
The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids. ICE cannot enter establishments without a valid warrant. Private entities may voluntarily choose to display signage to designate their property as part of a citywide network of community spaces that stand together in affirming the safety, dignity, and belonging of all of our residents.
The White House responded to that on Twitter, writing, "This is sick. He is aiding and abetting criminal illegal immigrant killers, rapists, traffickers, and gangbangers." I guess the biggest question right now, or one of the big questions, Keith, is, I mean, this seems hard to enforce. How are they going to create ICE-free zones in the city of Chicago?
Well, I think the idea behind it is that they want to make sure that city property is not being used for ICE operations, and it is difficult to enforce. So I guess, when they see something happening, they'll be reporting to them, but they can move on from there. But one of the incidents that happened recently was that there was an ICE agent or someone who was an agent for the federal government threw a tear gas canister outside on the street near a public school.
Why the hell is she smirking about that? Such a weird fuck.
School. And that's one of the concerns that they have, that there are things that are happening around this. The instance in Chicago where reportedly helicopters were near the building that they raided, and they had people who were zip-tied, children who were zip-tied and led out into the streets naked. This is what's happening in America right now. And the travesty of it all is that we're living in a country where Republicans have spent the better part, if not the entire part of my life, claiming that they believed in limited government and states' rights. And here we have a government, the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, asking that their rights be respected, their state's rights be respected, that city rights be respected, and the Republicans say no, because they really don't care about those things after all. They care about using the spectacle of violence to create this show for Donald Trump.
I don't think it's a spectacle when hundreds, literally hundreds, not tens, not 20s, hundreds of children have been murdered by gangs in Chicago over the last 5 years. That's an appalling statistic. If I was Mayor Johnson, the thing I'd be focusing on the most would be eradicating myself of gangs, whether they're gangs of undocumented illegal people or gangs of Chicago-born natives. And that should be priority.
Can we do that without putting American children in zip ties?
The problem is, as I said earlier, all of these problems could have been done peacefully if there was cooperation by sanctuary cities who honored ICE detainers and put people in jail.
You just shifted the justification. Let me just say this real quickly. You just shifted the justification. First you were talking about crime, now you're talking about sanctuary cities. The problem is sanctuary
cities protect people who are committing crimes.
No, you're talking, sanctuary cities are about immigration what you're doing now is you're conflating.
You're a sanctuary for law enforcement.
You're conflating the issues because what Republicans have done, what Trump has done in his administration is they've used crime, they've used Tren de Aragua, they've used attacks on ICE facilities, they've used immigration, every excuse they can come up with as a justification for sending in National Guard troops. When each time it's different. What is the reason why they're doing this, and why is it each time it's an emergency?
One of the other things about this,
like, everyone wants gangbangers or whatever criminals out of the country or arrested. No one, literally no one, is arguing that they should be left alone. Like, this is so stupid. And again, undocumented immigrants commit crimes at a lower rate than Americans. Multiple studies have shown this. In fact, in the past about 40 years, immigration has doubled in this country while crime rate has dropped by 60%. Like, the data just goes against them. But they try and make it seem like, and this constant conflation, this disgusting and dangerous conflation. These people haven't learned anything from Charlie Kirk. What happened to Charlie Kirk? They try and make it seem like all immigrants, or what did they say earlier? Killers, rapists, and gangbangers. Like, everything Republicans feed to their voters is through a funnel or filter of bigotry before it gets to their mouths. Republicans know very well who their voters are and what they like to be fed.
Is that obviously the White House is going to say this is protecting criminals and rapists and all that stuff, but we also know that many people who are picked up, maybe even most of them in some places, are not criminals at all. And in fact, in some of these instances...
But every single person that comes into the country illegally is a criminal,
hold on.
If you cross the border illegally,
hold on a second, but
you are a criminal in this country.
But Madison, I'm talking about their characterization
like during a raid.
of all of the people targeted by ICE as being rapists, terrorists, whatever you want to call it, gang members. They're not all those people, okay? So we know that. But also some of the people...
And quickly, if you come over the border for the first time illegally, it's like a ticket, it's like a traffic ticket. It's not a crime. You're not a criminal. Now, if you get deported and you come back again, yes, now it is a crime.
Who are caught up in some of these raids are also Americans. A couple of headlines from recently: a $50 million claim against DHS over body slamming a car wash owner. A U.S. citizen wrongly detained twice in Alabama. Another American citizen detained, as some Latinos say that they're being racially targeted.
Here's the problem I have with what's going on. You see Pritzker, you see Johnson saying this is an unconstitutional invasion of their city, right, coming from Trump. But these are the same people that have absolutely no problem with an actual unconstitutional invasion of the country, where we saw the Biden administration let millions and millions of people across the border. They literally basically invited them across the border. Over 10 million illegal immigrants came into this country. Now ICE is being forced to deport the people from this country, which President Trump promised he ran on and ultimately partially won on this commitment to the American people, on wanting to put the American people first. And so we've seen 2 million people that were here illegally that have left since Trump came into office, whether that be deportations or self-deportations, which they're also incentivizing because they recognize that that's one of the ways that we can get some of these people out.
You said it's unconstitutional invasion.
Yeah, he's putting Americans first by literally taking away their medical care, their health care right now, giving tax cuts to the rich. Yeah, Trump is really taking care of the good old American, right? Shut the F up.
For immigrants, what's unconstitutional about
people
that?
Like Pritzker and people like Johnson to protect...
Invasion. What is unconstitutional?
For people like Johnson and Pritzker to protect illegal immigrants through sanctuary cities, which is against federal law. Yeah, if you let me finish, I'll get there. Which is against federal law. We cannot have these cities protecting against federal law, and on top of it, stopping and prohibiting federal law enforcement from doing their jobs, ICE from doing their jobs,
you don't have any problem,
and deporting people.
Madison, you don't have any problem with the fact that ICE, with all of the additional, well, I need a moment to speak. With you filibustering, it's difficult for me to make a point.
There's been a 1,000% surge.
I need to understand how it's okay for American citizens to be profiled, to be detained, even though they're not undocumented immigrants, for American children to be zip-tied.
American citizens are not being profiled.
That is exactly what's happening right now. They're being asked if
they are being
asked if they are undocumented. Do you walk around with your
38 members of a gang were arrested. I understand that everybody on the show loves to talk about this allegation
I think
of
that you're
zip
making
ties,
excuses for an administration that's raining terror on ordinary American citizens under the false pretense of doing something about undocumented immigration. It's ridiculous.
Madison, it's not really, I haven't seen ICE disputing the fact that when they raided that apartment building, that they detained everyone.
That's the point.
Hold on.
But DHS specifically has
not
disputed the big tie about how they're zip tying children.
Sure.
And on top of that, they come out with more information about how some of those children were related to the members of Trend Alpha.
We should totally arrest them then.
They have not disputed that there were Americans.
Nothing makes kids safer than detaining them in zip ties.
They have not disputed
that
there were.
Do you want to send them back with the gangs?
No,
is that a better
false
option for you?
choice. That's a false choice.
Just 1 second, okay? They have not disputed.
She's an effing snake. Timu Kardashian here. These people just lie. She just admitted to it at the end there. Anna said, oh yeah, nothing makes kids feel safer than zip tying them. And Timu Kardashian says, would you rather them go back to the gangs? Thereby admitting the kids were zip tied. These people just effing lie. And also, why the F would random parents just say my kids were zip tied and whatnot? Like, this is so ridiculous. These people have to lie. Understand. They know they can't justify it. There is no justifying this behavior. They are racially profiling Hispanics and black people. She just doesn't have a good answer for it. So she just says, nope, it's not happening. She just got cornered there. Her dumbass.
That there were Americans who were detained who did absolutely nothing wrong except they happened to live in a particular place. And a lot of them were black Americans. Boris Sanchez was talking to Stephen Miller about this today and asked him, actually, the truth is, when you listen to this, the question was actually about the profiling of Latinos, but here's how Stephen Miller responded to that question.
Uh-oh, fascist powder.
He also says that you are profiling, that you're targeting black and brown people, even those who turn out to be here legally. What's your response?
Well, first of all, the black people in Chicago are thrilled that we're getting the illegal aliens out of their communities who are stealing their housing, jobs, and resources. The illegal aliens who are here are taking jobs away from blacks. They're taking jobs away from whites. They're taking jobs away from Latinos. We cannot have a system of law in this country that privileges illegal aliens over American citizens.
I love the idea that Stephen Miller has a pipeline to the black community in Chicago and knows what black people in Chicago are thinking. I kind of doubt that's the case.
But he does understand the politics of division.
Well, absolutely.
He understands that very well.
You know, it is true that the mayor of Chicago is not allowed to obstruct the work of ICE. And I think some of what he said comes very close to obstructing that. And that's just simply not the law. He's right that people inside buildings can demand a warrant from ICE if they can, and they're not obliged to let them in. But it is also true that, you know, you can call yourself a sanctuary city or whatever you want, but under the law, a locality is not allowed to interfere with the work of ICE, much as they want to.
Just to say that you can't use this particular property of ours that the city owns to launch a facility. No, whether that means they can, if they're engaging in some other activity and they happen to be on there, you can decide that because you're the professional expert on this. But I don't think they're talking about interfering. I think they're just talking about making sure that their property isn't being used for that purpose. It's the same reason. I mean, I lived in Los Angeles for 4 years, where Trump sent in national troops, and I'm sending National Guard troops, and you know they used the same justification. They had to do this because supposedly there was some great calamity that didn't exist, and they accused people of interfering with the facility, the federal building in downtown Los Angeles, and there's no interference. What Trump does is he creates a provocation, and then people respond to that.
I got to disagree with you on that.
De-escalating.
I'm also in LA, and the protests against ICE in LA got super violent. They were literally throwing cinder blocks at LAPD.
After Trump sent in, I was there every single day reporting on the ground.
That's fair. It was after
the federal building.
It was after Trump sent the federal.
But that's my point. And Trump creates a crisis.
That's true.
And this is what happened in Portland. I saw the pictures in Portland a few days ago. There were like 10, 15 people. They were blowing bubbles and stuff. Then Trump sends in the National Guard. You've got hundreds of people there. Trump creates a crisis.
He does. That's true.
How was the crisis not created?
It's fine for ICE to carry out its duties. The problem that I have is that they are terrorizing American citizens and doing it. You're ICE. You just got this massive influx of federal money. You're not able to do a targeted raid where you know exactly which units these people are in.
Just answer one question. Why are Democrats okay?
Hold up, Big Boy Burgers or Humpty Dumpty, whatever you want. It's annoying that Anna tries to do this whole, hey, but the other side is right when it comes to this or that, when clearly, I mean, clearly it's lopsided as to what we're seeing here. right? And it's probably not the right time to say this when we're seeing people's rights being violated, right? Black and brown Americans at that. Like, Anna has clearly made this shift to a more central position. Honestly, I think she just wants a show somewhere, TV network. I don't know. Regardless, that's not important. She was so easily convinced there. With simple logic, most people, guys, will just dig their heels in, refuse to admit, right? They can be shown something on video and refuse to say what they just saw is real. Like, yes, it did get violent in LA, but it was after the clear provocation, as Keith Boykin said there. Trump does this on purpose in order to say, hey, look how violent they are, and look how I'm going to clean it all up. And she just agreed. And yeah, that's right. That's what I mean about you can work with people like Anna. She has at least some level of logic, as opposed to these MAGA cultists. It's like talking to a wall. These people are zombies, truly brainless. They all share one brain.
With immigrants not being able to follow the law. Why is that okay? Why is that the one law?
Nobody said that.
So
That's a straw man.
why when the enforcement happens, why is it such a problem? Why is the protest always against ICE? Why is the protest always for sanctuary cities? Why isn't the protest for law enforcement?
Very quickly.
The answer is that law enforcement says that if they have to cooperate with ICE, that means that local immigrant communities will feel less likely to actually cooperate with the police.
Who are the good guys? The police or the people breaking the law? Who are the good guys? The police or the people breaking the law?
The local police are saying that they don't want to be co-opted in the ICE campaign because it makes people less likely to cooperate with them.
I just think it's always important to point out there is almost universal agreement in this country that criminal people who are undocumented should be kicked out of the country. Virtually.
Really? I remember the Democratic primary. The Democratic primary, they asked every candidate.
Hold on a second.
Who thinks there should be free health care for illegal immigrants? They all raised their hand. Every one of them. Every one of them.
That's a red herring. That was
people who are here.
Let her speak, please. She's talking about criminals.
That's not.
Big Boy Burgers is such an idiot. The statement was about no one wants criminals here and would like for them to get deported. And he said, oh, yeah, really? Well, how about when they ask questions if illegal immigrants should get health care? Like, what is Humpty Dumpty talking about? That's not at all what she was talking about. Like, these people are hearing things. I swear, Republicans hear things.
Really in dispute here. But what has also happened over the last 9 months is that there are people going into courthouses to follow the legal procedures, having their cases administratively closed, and then getting arrested right outside the courthouse doors. So there's both things happening. Yeah, they are going after criminals, but they're actually going after a lot of people who are not criminals as well. And that is what's building the heat in this country in terms of the antagonism between law enforcement and regular Americans, because a lot of this is regular Americans who are frustrated.
If there's a gang on a street corner that the police know there's shootings, and they roll up on the street corner, are they not going to stop and frisk everyone?
If there is a gang on the street corner, they should go after the gang on the street corner. And nobody disputes that.
100%.
All right. Next for us,
the shooter.
AOC is...
Like, guys, Democrats need to be better at this. The simplest way I would say this if I was a politician is, listen, we need a bigger economy. We need immigrants. Right? Like, China is catching up out of sheer size of population. Not that we need as many people as China, but we certainly need more if we want to stay as world power. Your economy will be limited by the size of your population. Simply put, it's better for an economy when 100 million cars are sold, or anything is sold, in a year instead of 50 million cars. Like, these things are obvious. That ends up obviously creating more jobs, wage increases as businesses are making more profits. And obviously more jobs are created because we need more people to service the increase in population. Like, I can keep going on and on about these different things and the benefits. And then, I mean, it's no surprise as to how we became as wealthy and powerful as we did as a nation. Part of it was because of immigration. Getting people of different backgrounds, cultures, countries provides new, this study has been done on this, new ways of solving problems and doing things, which end up helping us, obviously, right? And like, the other side of this coin is that we need the rich to pay a fair tax rate and not give these massive tax cuts we just gave them, so that we can give the middle class and the lower income class people lower taxes, so that they have more effing money to have kids. People don't have kids because they are broke. All right, I'm done with my rant because this kind of stuff is just angry because the answer is right in front of our faces, but Democrats especially have a way of tiptoeing around these. Why these people are savage animals the way the right behaves about this topic. But anyways, I'm gonna leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Please leave a like, subscribe. Really helps the channel. Really helps push the message out there. And I'll catch you in the next one.